Why is everybody in this business? Because they all want to make money. We don't believe in sticking to that one strategy. Oh, we're going to drill and drill and drill and drill our way to success. That's why we're adopting a multiple three-pillar strategy.
You've been at this 10 years. Your market cap's 30 million. You haven't got any of these projects over the line. You haven't kind of advanced them significantly yet. How do you show the market that you can accelerate a project forward at some reasonable pace? Welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thanks so much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up. It'd be much appreciated. And of course, do leave your comments below. It just helps us to understand the sorts of questions that you want us to ask, how you think we're doing, and indeed what you think of the company. And if you haven't already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And of course, for more videos like this, click the notification bell. We spoke earlier today to Gary Thompson, CEO of Brixton Metals, their TSX-Gold-Silver Explorer. Main asset Thorn had it for 10 years, looking for a strategic partner to come in and help them develop what is quite a significant asset. We talked to them about what they have done to date. They spent 20 million bucks. Not quite sure what they've been able to accomplish with that. Take a look in the description. They've also bought Hog Heaven from Pan American Silver in 2017. Drilling this week, looking forward to seeing the results from that. A couple of exploration projects on the back burner as well. Main complaint from the market, people aren't quite sure what the company's focused on, where they're going to spend their time and money, and indeed where the kind of major catalysts are for value creation. Take a look at the description. We talk about a variety of topics in there. Anything interests you in particular, click on the number, which is a timestamp, and I'll take you to that part of the video. Enjoy what Gary had to say. Hey Gary, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Good morning or good afternoon.
Yeah, good morning to you. Good afternoon to us. Yes. So, where are you? You're back at the office. Or you're still holed up at home.
I'm in Vancouver. Yeah. I think this is my first full week in the office since the COVID situation.
Fantastic. Well, look, why don't we kick off with a 1-minute overview of your company for people new to the story, and then I'll pick it up from there.
Yeah, sure. Brixton Metals is actually our 10-year anniversary this year, so we're pretty excited about that, for being a public company, survived that far. So Brixton is mainly a precious metal exploration and soon-to-be development company focused in Canada and the U.S. So we have four assets wholly owned, and we're excited about them. Generated exceptional results on those projects to date, and just a quick pitch on us. I mean, we've got very, very good liquidity. If you look at the shares that have traded, I think since last summer when we hit our big hole at Thorn, 133 million shares or something. We're about half a million shares a day on average this year, and traded almost 50 million shares this year to date. So good liquidity, really strong shareholders. 40% of the company is held by like the likes of Eric Sprott is our largest shareholder. Of course, management, Rob McEwen, US Global, Pan American Silver, and Hecla as well. So collectively, that's about 40% of the company held in strong hands and art trading. So if you look at our share cap of 144 million shares out, and we traded 133 already since last summer. So getting some turnover, which I think is a good point for investors. And we have good, strong assets, and we can delve into the details of them, but one of our mottos is high grade only. So we're chasing these down and advancing them along, and we're pretty excited for 2020. That's going to be a good year for us.
Okay, cool. I usually kind of kick off and get into trying to understand the company's business model, their business plan. But you said something there which kind of interests me. So you've been at this 10 years. Your market cap's 30 million. What was happening for the last 10 years?
That's a good question, right? When we started the company, we didn't anticipate, we would have transacted and sold the company by now. But you look at when we started the company in December 2010, the peak of the gold market was 2011. So it's been one of these roller coaster ride downhill. And having, I guess, a seasoned geologist, I've lived through 2 major downturns in the mining cycle. And I can tell you that the 2015 was the bottom, and it was pretty nasty. There was a couple years where nobody wanted to hear a mining story, not a peep. So we just sharpened our skills and dug in and looked for assets, and we've been, I think we've been effective at acquiring good assets at a reasonably low cost, and that's sort of been one of our keystone strategies. So we've been busy looking for those assets, but of course you can only do so much with the market conditions that you're in, and I think it's pretty clear that the corner has turned, and we're moving into a new phase for the metals market. So
let's hope so. Let's hope so. So you are all about silver and gold and high grade only. So why don't you talk us through that? Because you've had a lot of time to think about it, I guess, in terms of what you want to be known for. And you've name dropped quite a few big names in there, but I want to get into how active they are and why they're there, how they got there. So can we talk about your business plan? So what did you guys come up with?
So here's our strategy. It's the classic three legs of a stool. So what are we good at? Well, we're good at finding, we believe, strong, unappreciated assets. So, acquiring good, strong assets in a safe jurisdiction, conducting exploration that can generate high impact results. So very focused and diligent. And, the time thing is actually, I know people don't want it. Everybody in this rush world want results today, now, and why can't I get rich and retire tomorrow? In fact, actually, time is a good thing for exploration in the sense that you need time to process the data and go through it, figure it out. The last thing you want to be doing is rushing in with a big drill campaign and blowing all your money in the wrong spot. Just the main strategy focus for us is to break it down into those three stools. So, continue to do exploration, look for those good assets, do the exploration, high impact results. We're good at that. Keep doing that. It's been effective for us. Looking for JV partners. Now we have a portfolio of projects. So the second part of the stool would be to find a major partner. And in one of our projects in BC called Thorn, which is a good example, we've been on that project. That has been our flagship project since the company started 10 years ago. But it's a massive property and it continues to show promise. But it's a big company project. We've got 2,300 square kilometers as an example. So we think that's the second stool is going to add value for shareholders. And then the third one is to basically secure some sort of M&A transaction. You're seeing a lot of M&A in the market over the last year or so, or two, and we think that's going to continue to increase. And we've been busy looking at those opportunities. Why? Because if you look at how much work it takes to build a 1, 2, 3 million ounce deposit, if you could transact on that, in a few months, 3, 4, 6 months. You've jump-started yourself to a bigger, better company. However, it sounds easy to do. We've gone down the road with a lot of them and just haven't got deals done. But so we're active in that arena, looking for opportunities, looking for like-minded companies like Brixton. Why would you do it? Well, you take a 30 million company and a 30 million company, you put them together. Hopefully, you're a $100 million company, and you move on and prosper, and that's a benefit to all shareholders. And just consolidation generally, I think, is a bit of the name of the game in this business.
Okay.
So that's our three stools.
Got it. It's a lot of moving parts.
Exploration, JVs, and M&A.
Okay. So Thorn's been with you from the beginning. Hog Heaven came from where? Or when did that join?
So we acquired Hog Heaven in 2017 from Pan American Silver. So that's where it was a share deal that put Pan American on the share registry.
100%. And Athlon, what about Goldfields? What about them?
So Athlon Goldfields is the project that we acquired. We started staking claims in there in 2016. It's about a 40 kilometer by 40 kilometer area, and you have gold coming out of all these drainages. They've been placer mining gold in the Athlon Goldfield since the Yukon Gold Rush in the late 1800s. 120 years of placer mining. It's the second largest gold placer camp in BC, and the largest gold nugget ever came out of Canada. 85-ounce nugget came out of Athlon. And interestingly, for all those years, there hasn't really been any sustained, systematic exploration effort to try and find the source of all that gold. So that was our thinking as well. Why not? And if there's all this gold coming out of here, where is it coming from? We've kind of backing up a little bit, and what we found is that even though this has been an active placer camp, there hasn't really been a lot of soil geochem or probably been a lot of prospecting looking for veins and stuff, I'm sure, but not a lot of systematic, sustained exploration, we'll say. Homestake, everybody knows the old Homestake company, which was quite active before they were acquired. Quite a successful mine development company. They were acquired by Placer Dome and Barrick subsequently, and they did good work in the camp in the 80s, and that's kind of where we're, using that data and expanding on that data, and they were successful in. I think they got to about 150,000 ounces at about 10 grams on a non-compliant number.
Okay, so let's move on. I want to go through these because I want to try and understand.
You got to get through quick and dirty on the projects.
Well, it's just in terms of I want to understand the order of play for you, because you've got a certain amount of cash and therefore you've got to deploy that properly. So, Hog Heaven, you picked it up from. Well, I think you own 100% of it. So is that right?
Yeah, we acquired it from Pan American Silver, 100%. Right. 2.7 million share deal.
Right. Okay. Bought with shares. Okay. And then Thorn, you've been sitting on for a while. That's gold, obviously.
I wouldn't classify it as sitting on. That sounds like we're not doing anything with it.
What have you done?
There's only 1 year in 10 years where we have not worked on the property. So let's just maybe do a quick snapshot of each project to give it in context of how we see it.
Sure.
So Thorn is a massive property that's a district scale play. If you look at where we've done all the work, it's actually a really small area. It's like, here's where we've done all the work and here's the size of the property kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it's it is a company maker project, a 2,300 square kilometer property. But it also is a remote access, expensive place to operate. So while we've had it for 10 years, we have, our budgets have been reasonably small. However, having said that, we've been having tremendous success with the work that we're doing there. And we didn't want to blow up the company trying to develop, deep drilling, expensive porphyry. Our strategy is to continue to work on that project and tighten up the targets and find new things. Advance the project. But ideally, as my comment earlier, looking for a JV partner, that's a classic one. We think we can bring a major partner in on as we advance it. So keep working it, but not blow up the company trying to prove up a big porphyry, given our market cap and situation. Thorn has probably been our flagship, which it has been, and certainly we've got the most money spent. Hog Heaven right now is probably top of the list for us from the most advanced stage project in the company. It's has the most drilling done, 722 holes, almost 60,000 meters of drilling, and it was a permitted mine to build. It was actually a feasibility stage project in 88, 89, and they were going to build this mine. And of course, when 1990 hit, the gold silver prices tanked, as we all know. And so the economics were cleaned out on that, and it basically sat idle. Pan American acquired it subsequently after that, and did remediation and reclamation work, and a little bit of underground mapping and stuff like that. So it was pretty inactive since that time. Well, basically since 1990, really it was relatively inactive. So we look at Langus. This is our fourth project. It's a great little high-grade historic camp, off-the-chart silver, native silver stuff, relatively low-cost, high-grade silver producer in Canada, relatively low-cost transaction. And but we need to continue to work it to get to what we think we can do there is build up a small high-grade resource. We're talking, 1,000 gram, between 500 and 1,200 gram kind of resource target. That's what we're looking at. But it's a, relatively low in priorities for us. So I would put Atlan and Langus lower down from activity and priority for us. This summer, it's going to be all about Hog Heaven and a little bit about Thorn. Atlan, probably not much. We're doing some work there, but it's low-level prospecting and soils. Trying to tighten up drill targets, and we'll see what the rest of the season brings us.
Okay. Can I just ask? It seems to be like a lot of moving parts. You've 10 years in the making. You've got four assets we're talking about. The searching for a strategic partner for Thorn is high on your list. It's one of your three pillars, one of your three legs of your stool.
Three legs, yeah.
Yeah. How much work has happened on that? How many conversations have happened? What's the timing on that?
Well, that's a good question. I think we've had lots of interest. We've had lots of show and tell, lots of data review, and I think it's just going to take some more time. Everybody's looking. All the majors, put it this way, all the majors are looking. But how many major deals have you seen, being acquired? So it's still, even though there is some M&A activity, it's still kind of a wait and see strategy, I think, for a lot of the majors.
So what do you know about it today? I mean, how much money have you spent on it today? What do you know about it, and why would that be attractive to a major if that's who you're going after?
Yeah, so what we found out about it is that so far, and it's still evolving, is we truly have a district play here. We're talking a trend of 50-60 kilometer trend in a volcanic arc that looks like to be porphyry affinity in the likes of large scale deposits, like major deposit scale. But what's interesting is that in the northern part we have Cretaceous age intrusions, much like the Pebble deposit, and we have some signatures that show us that it has similarities to the Bingham Canyon massive porphyry deposit. And then to the south end we have more Jurassic age, which is more like Red Chris and GT Gold and Galore Creek style of rocks over like about a 50 kilometer long trend. And we're seeing pretty impressive showings all along that trend for copper and gold and porphyry and epithermal, but also sediment hosted and volcanic hosted gold deposits. So if you want to look at a textbook classic geological, like basically geology school, you could come to Thorn and look at all the different deposit types.
I guess what I'm trying to get at, I'm trying to understand is, for a company like yourself, you've been careful to explain your strategy. You spent $20 million on one of your assets over a 10-year period, every year but one.
Yeah.
But what was it that you were trying to build up? What was the picture that you're trying to build up, which allows you to go and have a conversation with, say, someone, this is a phenomenal asset. We don't have the capital, but we'd love to partner with you. What do they want from you, and have you got the ability to show them that?
Okay, so what are they looking for? They're looking for large scale, long life, high grade mines.
Right.
One of the reasons we picked up Thorn was we looked at the original reports, and there was these high grade silver and gold showings, veins, and that was the reason that we got excited about it. But as we evolved on the project and learned and built our understanding on it, what we're recognizing is that we're actually dealing with not one but multiple porphyry centers along a major trend. So what's the objective here is really, get to advance this thing along where we think it's going to be interesting enough for a major, and that it's going to take some drilling. We're not saying we're not drilling there. I mean, I think you have to be drilling. So we're advancing it that way. One of the zones that I'm interested in, which is not a porphyry, it's called the Outlaw Zone, that actually Chevron worked back in the 80s, but it's a sediment hosted gold silver deposit that has a 4.3 kilometer long golden soil geochem anomaly. And we want to do some work on the west end of that this year, because in 2018 we put together some impressive gold numbers at surface, 9, 12, 39 gram gold samples on this west end that wasn't identified before. So that's one area that we want to go to and do some more work on that. Can we get that thing ready to drill this summer? So that's one that I'm excited about drilling at Thorn this year. The other big target is the Camp Creek target, where most of the historical work has been done to date. There's a lot of companies that were into Thorn, like a dozen companies prior to Brixton. But that looks like a deep blind porphyry system, but it looks big too, like a big system. We're talking multiple kilometer long system. And in last year, 2019, we came out with hole 150 that drilled into the Oban Breccia zone that drilled 554 meters of about 2 grams gold equivalent. So pretty impressive gold, silver, copper, with a little bit of lead zinc hole in a breccia zone that when we looked at this thing, why did we drill it? What are we there? Well, we think this Oban, not Oban, but that Oban Breccia related to the Camp Creek target, which is again multi-kilometer long deep porphyry target, that looks like far southeast in the Philippines, which is operated by Gold Fields. And that's, I think, I haven't seen the updated, if they put an updated resource on it, but I want to say it's like 43 million ounces gold equivalent. So why do we care about this? We care about it because it looks like that, and that's pretty impressive deposit. And it's blind, which means it's deep. And their deposit, from my understanding, doesn't start till I think 600 meters or something.
Okay,
The
well,
actual ore grade, the porphyry doesn't start till 600 meters.
okay,
But when you're talking like a beast of that scale, you got to be interested in it.
it sounds big, and 20 million bucks is also big, but there weren't a lot of numbers being thrown out there, so I'm not actually sure. What's the bit they latch onto and go, okay, we understand this better? Because it just sounds quite superficial in a way, because there's such a big area to go after, and you're seeing trends, and it sounds like a big project. But are you at the point where you've got enough to be interesting to someone? Is that why no one's got over the line? Is that the problem?
I would say we're intriguing. We're getting a lot of intrigue and a lot of interest. Are they across the line? They're not quite across the line. So put yourself in their shoes, right? You're a major mining company. You want to build mines, and Thorn is a long ways away from a mine. Let's face it. Let's not sugarcoat it. This thing is big, and it's an interesting system, but it's out there. It's not. We do have road access to the southern part of our claim block now because we've acquired ground, pushed our land package down towards the old Goldenberry mine, which was an operating mine up until 2000.
Okay. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you said it like that. Let's not sugarcoat it. It's quite big, and therefore it's going to take a certain type of company, isn't it?
Yes. We'll put it this way. It's a district that's not in your backyard.
Right.
And however, we do have a path to tidewater. It's actually quite uniquely positioned, even though people like to beat us up for the lack of infrastructure, which is fair enough. And it's expensive to operate there, which is fair enough, but not as expensive as, parts of northern Canada. I think our drilling costs are in that range of, upper 400s, $500 a meter, all in drill costs, which is all heli support. That's, air support is a big part of our budgets. But I've seen stuff in other parts of northern Canada. They're $500,000, $600,000, $700 a meter. So it's expensive, but that's why these things aren't found. And we recognize that the world needs new metal deposits, and you're not going to find them sitting in the office. You got to get out there and bang the rocks and do the work. So
right. Okay.
So I think it's we're excited about it. We have high confidence in the project. It's just going to take time and money to advance.
Right. Okay. How much more money are you going to spend on it?
So here's my thing on Thorn, and that's why I don't feel Brixton is in a position today, just given our market cap. I know we're not. What the Thorn project needs is $10 million a year for the next decade, and that's probably not enough, right? That's the kind of budget you need to really get at this thing and do the damage that it needs to advance along the curve. So.
Okay.
So that's a major partner can come in and take the heavy lifting.
Beautiful. What are you gonna do with Hog Heaven?
Well, Hog Heaven, we think, is a mine to be built there. We're actually the more we dig into it, and we've really been digging in this last year. So we're drilling there. In fact, I don't know if we're actually turning today, either today or tomorrow. By the weekend, we'll be turning, and we hope to have the first hole done by next week. So we're excited about it. This project has not seen a drill hole since '92, and most of the drilling was done in the '80s and even in the '70s.
Okay. How do you accelerate that project? Because, like I say, your legacy is cycles or not cycles. Been at this a long time within this vehicle. So how do you show the market that you can accelerate a project forward at some reasonable pace?
So going back to our motto, high grade only. So we're focused on the high grade in the system, and it's a very unique environment that we have here. I would say just the high level, just to tick off the boxes. We have private lands, leased lands that we're dealing with. It's a relatively low holding cost for us. So if things get bad, we don't have to do anything. In fact, all these things are wholly owned, so we're not in a gun to our head to have to do work per se. But how are we going to advance it? Well, the good thing is we have permits. We actually have an operator's permit mine. Not that we're going to build their mine plan that they had, but we do have an operator's permit. We're permitted to drill. and we're dealing with private land, so there's no BLM or Forest Service issues to deal with per se. So from that perspective, we see a relatively easy path forward on advancing. Obviously, we have to do work on the social license part, which we're going to be working on, and building that network. Right now we're using all local contractors. We got a group out of Bozeman that's managing the project for us, and the drillers are just across the state line in Idaho.
And what happens this year when you've got first drill hole today, tomorrow? What's your plan? By end of this year, what will you have achieved?
Yeah, so the objective for this first round of drilling, because of the vintage of the drilling, and a lot of the drilling was done RC, which is the cuttings, you don't get the core. So a number of these holes were coring, all these holes were coring. And we're not drilling a lot of holes, like 3 to 5 holes, plus some geochem and some other mapping work that we want to do. But really the objective is to highlight the opportunity here that we believe is mispriced for Brixton. We don't believe we're getting any value for this asset. And if you look at the historic resource, and we're not counting on this resource, but it's a pretty meaningful silver resource. And they took the global resource there, but we're looking at the high grade. What's interesting about it is if you look at the nice high grade intervals, we're talking, I don't know, I could pick any number, there's a whole range of intervals, but 12 meters of a kilo of silver, 6 grams of gold, and 6.5% copper. So it appears like there could be some stratiform nature of the mineralization that is silver, gold, copper rich. So it is polymetallic. It appears that way. And our focus is to really, I think, just showcase this asset that there's something real here, and it has some nice high margin opportunity.
But again, to what end? Are you guys equipped to take advantage of a polymetallic situation like that, or are you going to again look for a strategic partner? How's it going to work?
Yeah, again, using that third pillar of our strategy is, we're open for partners on any one of our projects. If we could monetize these things, we would. We believe Thorn is a natural fit for a major partner, of course. But Hog Heaven is something. I mean, we haven't built a mine yet, Brixton. But if you look at our team, Randall and Rita are involved in mining deals and building mine projects. So we're starting to, like I say, we're moving from this exploration development strategy company into more of a developer. And yeah, maybe we bring in a partner there to do the heavy lifting on actually building the mine. But, could Brixton participate in that upside and get cash flow from an operating mine? Why not?
Okay.
So what we want to do is move it along. So this thing, again, was a feasibility stage project. We'd like to get this project back to at least PEA. I don't know, in the next few years, perhaps, if we can get enough drilling on it. So what we're hoping with this round of drilling was going to showcase to the world that this is a really good silver, gold, copper asset, really high grades, and there's some bulk tonnage potential. Can we make good economics on this thing and get it back to that PEA feasibility in a reasonably short period of time? And then I think you can attract the dollars to look at actually building something there.
Right. So let's come to the third step, which I think was the M&A component you talked about, doing transactions. You're finding someone else of a similar size and the sum of the parts, etc.
Yeah.
Do you think you've got the credibility in market, given that you haven't got any of these projects over the line? You haven't kind of advanced them significantly yet. So are you going to get again the types of conversations with another interested party, because so far things have taken longer than they should. You've kind of missed cycles. You've got big projects, you've got small projects. You're looking for strategic partners. There's a kind of, I'm trying to work out what I should be focused on, I guess what I'm saying to you, and therefore I can also imagine why someone coming in, maybe as some sort of merger, JV, or even an acquisition. Yeah, it's hard to work out what I should be looking at.
So look at it. Why is everybody in this business? Because they all want to make money. So we don't believe in sticking to that one strategy. Oh, we're going to drill and drill and drill and drill our way to success. I think it's a good strategy, but it's a bit of a flawed strategy. That's why we're adopting a multiple 3-pillar strategy to unlock value for shareholders. So we're looking at all these options. Everything's on the table, right? Let's just be open-minded about it. And how do we unlock value for shareholders? And we believe those three pillars of exploration and continue to look at making discoveries. A good example is my friend Chris Taylor at Great Bear. Several years ago, we all knew where they were, penny stock, like a lot of us. But they've had tremendous success at the drill bit and making I think it looks like a world-class discovery in the making. I've been impressed with what they're doing there. So that's why we're in the business, why we want to continue to explore and advance these things, because of that. That's the exciting part about the business. But, we all know that those kinds of discoveries are rare and unique. And so looking at other ways to unlock value, like I say, if you could, here's a good example. So we acquired Hog Heaven basically at the time of the deal was $1 million in stock. Look at the asset for what it is. It's on the books from the feasibility. It had 47 million ounces of silver and about 250,000 ounces of gold based on the feasibility study in the late 80s. So if you could acquire those kind of assets like that have good high grades in them in an attractive, stable jurisdiction for $1 million in stock, I'd do that deal all day long. Like, show me another one of that. I'm a buyer.
But you got to monetize it. You still got to monetize it.
Buy it. You got to monetize it. You got to do the work, and you got to monetize it.
Right. Okay.
Absolutely.
So how much cash have you got today?
So we're just under 5 million cash today.
Okay. And where is that money going to be spent? If you could apportion that 5 million, how does it get spent?
Yeah. So of that, the way we raised the money, 2 million of that was flow-through dollars, which is for Canadians, that's a flow-through eligible tax credit for the investor. And that money, 2 million of that is going to BC, and most of it right now pegged for Thorn. So a little bit in Atlan. I think our budget for Atlan's like 150 grand. So bulk of it's going to be focused around Thorn. So it's a good amount of work. We should get some drilling out of that in addition to the geophysics and all the big geochem that we're doing. Right now we've got about 500 US, about 700 Canadian dollars for Hog Heaven for this initial handful of holes that we're going to drill, and we think that should generate some excitement just based on what we're drilling there. I'd be real surprised if we don't see some joy on that, and then that will hopefully allow us to get some nice share appreciation. Obviously, we'd like to see that, and which we haven't seen on the project yet. It's like I say, we don't believe we're seeing any value for that, and then obviously be looking to raise additional funds later on this season.
Okay. So obviously you've been at this a while. Mining's always tough. What are the kind of sacrifices you've had to make before you did this fundraise? Were you able to pay yourself?
Well, it's a tough business. Well, $5 million in the till, yeah, I should be getting paid. But I can tell you that I put a lot of money into Brixton. It's my personal. Big chunk of my personal wealth. I continue to buy this stock. Anybody can go look at CanadianInsiders.ca and see how much Gary Thompson's been buying. So I'm a net buyer, and I believe that we will ultimately be successful one way or another on these things. I'm committed to making that a success because I'm invested and aligned with shareholders.
How many shares do you have?
I think I'm in about 5 million shares right now.
Okay, that's a chunk of change.
And obviously a lot of options, and I think I have a little bit of warrants, but a good whack of options that I hope to be exercising when we get some price movement. But if you look, I haven't sold a share since day one, so I'm net long buyer, and we're going to make this make this successful, and I want to make all our shareholders money.
So what's your message to shareholders? You've obviously, Thorn is, that could run and run. There's no timing on that. I know what you're trying to do, but there's no timing on that one. Hog Heaven, you're spending some money in the ground. You're going to advance that thing this year, but when do shareholders start looking for meaningful type announcements from you, which actually convert into some kind of value for them?
Well, I would expect to see our initial results mid-June from drilling. So mid-June till, I don't know, early July perhaps, depending on how long it actually takes to get those holes done. So that's going to be probably a good month of drill results once they start flowing. Maybe 6 weeks of news coming out there. Our initial results we're kind of, because that's kind of up and running now, and we've got a bit more work to do. It's going along quite nicely. We are potentially looking at doing some metallurgical work as well. We're working with some advisors on that to see what we might be able to do or could do depending on what we hit there. So that's ongoing. So that'll be a good amount of news. The program at Thorn is going to start sometime in June, and that's going to be more geophysics and geochem. So maybe not necessarily market moving results from that. I would anticipate the drilling to start a little bit later on in the summer, perhaps July, even August. We wanted to get the geochem and geophysics behind us and some more mapping before we made a decision where we want to drill. So the objective really is to get, when we're drilling there, we want to be committed to those drill targets and that they have high impact to the project, right? We're not wildcatting holes left, right, and center. We're want to get more data, you can't have enough data to go into the pre-drilling targets. So get as much data as we can to feel confident for those next drill holes. So we do plan to be drilling in Thorn, but that's going to be later on in the summer exercise for results on that. So the idea would be that we get some joy out of Hog Heaven. We can attract some interest in that and allow us to have a second phase of drilling, basically drill out the season there. What's interesting about Hog Heaven compared to like northern BC is, BC, we're talking June till October. Last year we got chased out early in October. So, you got 4, 5, 6 months if you push it to do work there.
Okay.
Hog Heaven, we probably got about eight months of season there, maybe a little bit more even.
Okay, that's
so
good.
A bit of a longer window. We could do drilling later and start earlier.
Right. Can I ask
you,
do you think retail investors know what your business plan is?
Do I think they know what our business plan is?
No, your business plan. Do retail investors know what your business plan is?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to ask them. So look at the presentation, read the presentation, and if you don't understand it, then perhaps you could reach out and give me a call. Send me an email. Don't understand your plan. What are you doing with all these projects? And again, we're looking to unlock value in these things and make shareholders money. Ultimately, that's the end game for pretty much most people in this business. And we think we have 4 strong assets that have generated exceptional drill results to date. Each one of these things have generated. I want to show you something from Marlangas, if I can. I don't know if this will work on the screen.
Yeah.
This is from Marlangas. Can you see that okay? Dendritic silver.
Yeah.
And I'll show you one more because I've never seen native silver like this. This is a real McCoy silver, native silver in the rock, little veins, high-grade silver. So when you see that, it's pretty exciting. And the question is, okay, can you get more of that? And you don't need a lot of material like that to make economics. So let's face it, it's been a long time for Brixton, 10 years, but we had to suffer through, let's face it, a crappy market for most of it. Right? So we've only had a few really good rallies in this since that time. We got listed at the peak of the market basically, and it's been a tough slog. So I think companies like Brixton are coming into a good market, and I think this is a good opportunity, to make a move. And if you look at our share price and what we've done, we had a good rally last summer on the back of some good results. We've traded a lot of stock, so I'd say Brixton, you could get in, and if you want to, take a punt, it's probably not a bad time to be looking at Brixton because we have yet to put out some results this season. So we do have a bit of seasonality in our stock, but if you look at what happened last year, we came out with a great result. In the summer, we had good rally. We traded a lot of stock, but in September, the whole gold sector kind of rolled over, and the whole sector lost momentum, and we got taken down with that rollover as well. So it almost didn't matter what we drilled. And here's the other thing: when you drill a really good hole like hole 150, and then your second hole is not better, let's face it, who doesn't get a little disappointed when the next hole is not better, right? So anyways, we're working through that, and we think we have a lot to offer shareholders. We think Brixton is a solid company, and we've got good backers, and we've got strong projects that we believe mining companies will want to own one day.
Beautiful. Gary, I thank you very much for telling us your story. It's a new story. Enjoyed hearing it. Love to get into detail next time with you. Good luck with the drilling. If there's anything exciting comes out of the ground, let us know, right?
Yeah, I'd keep an eye on Brixton Metals.